Luxor is one of those places that feels unreal on paper. Ancient history everywhere you look, thousands of years old, still standing today. But what makes this city truly wild is that archaeologists are still uncovering temples, tombs, and mummies here. History that's been buried for thousands of years is still being found today. For a first-time visitor, it can be overwhelming. Not because it's hard to understand, but because there's just so much to take in. So in this video, I'm breaking down everything you need to know about visiting Luxor for the first time, so you can focus less on figuring things out and more on actually experiencing it. Just arrived super late night in Luxor. We got a ride to our place on the West Bank, and now we're going to sleep because we have an early morning tomorrow and we're gonna see some really cool temples. We're starting the morning off with some absolutely stunning views of the Nile. Just looks really beautiful from the top. You can see all the buildings around in the Nile River, and we're gonna be heading to some of the temples now. First spot we're seeing is called Colosseum of Memnon. Just two cool big statues to see, and it's free. The first stop we're going to is Valley of the Kings. They built these because they used to bury all the pharaohs in the pyramids, but that became too obvious and a sign for tomb raiders. So they built Valley of the Kings to hide all the bodies and make them less visible and they wouldn't be found by tomb raiders. So there's about 60 tombs here in this entire place, and there's still more being discovered to this day. Now the tomb we're going into is the tomb of Hauser, Setnacht. It's a bit on the farther end of this valley, but it's one of the largest ones in here, so it already goes really deep. Every time you come out of one of these tombs, the light hits you so hard. Shows that they did a good job of what they wanted to do, keep them dark and keep them buried far away from people. Just a quick tip, you can take these carts, but they charge for them. So it's actually like a really short walk, maybe like 300, 400 meters to get from the entrance to the actual Valley of the Kings. Now we're walking to possibly the most recognized temple here in Luxor. It's the Temple of Hatshepsut, and she was one of the first female pharaohs and one of the only. And she even, in some of her drawings, showed herself having a beard and wearing a male kilt just to appear like a man. Next spot we're at is the Valley of the Queens. It's basically Valley of the Kings, but for the queens. And they would bury the wives of the popular kings and the children here. And it's much less busy than the Valley of the Kings and Hatshepsut's temple. There's no one walking around and it's midday, so. These tombs are much smaller than the tombs at Valley of the Kings, so it's a pretty quick visit, and there's only 3. The tomb of Nefertari was closed when we went, so that's the popular one here, which is really unfortunate, but we got to see some of the other ones. They're still pretty nice, but definitely recommend Valley of the Kings and Hatshepsut's temple to visit over this one. Also, watch out for your phones at all of these spots because the guards try to take your phones at any spot, or there'll be like, oh, picture, and then they'll take your phone. We saw it happening to a lot of people, and then there's just a bunch of other mini scams here. So far, out of everywhere we've been in Egypt, Luxor definitely has the most scamming going on and like trying to get your money in any possible way.
If they do take your phone and you kind of lose control of the situation, don't worry, just say no and walk away. You don't have to give them a tip. They took your phone, just walk away, you'll be fine.
We just stopped at a place right after to eat lunch at Baladi restaurant, and this is honestly the best baba ganoush and hummus I've ever tried. I didn't think it would be this good by the look of it, but it's so fresh. It might actually be one of the best meals we had in Egypt. It was so good, and we ate and left no crumbs. So we're staying in the west bank of Luxor, which is where all the temples were at that we went to in the morning. And now we just took the private boat and to head to the east bank, which is the much more popular area. This is where the Luxor temple is, Karnak is, and a few of the popular museums. So to get across, you have basically three options. One of them is to take a ferry, which costs about 15-20 pounds. They kind of changed the price. Some people have said they've paid up to 40 pounds for those, but you shouldn't pay more than 20 because the private boats you can get across, which is what we did, it costs 50 pounds for the boat, just in general, no matter how many people you have. They'll also try to quote you a higher price, but you can definitely negotiate down to about 40-50 pounds. If you're in a bigger group, we just had 2 people, but if you're in a bigger group, maybe it'll be like 60-70. It's still a really good price to just take the private boat, and it leaves right away, unlike the ferry, which leaves just when it fills up. We went to a place called Al Sahabi Lane for dinner. We came here because it has really nice sunset views. It overlooks the entire city and it's on the east bank, so you get overlook the west bank with all the temples. And it's just insane seeing the Nile River and how the city is built with like the 2 sides of the Nile. It's so wide and it's just bigger than I would have ever expected. Size doesn't matter, it's okay, but it is nice when it's big. But just the views here are stunning. So excited to see the sunset. So we got a meze tray for this. We got some hummus, baba ganoush, muhammara, some veggies there, and some food in that one. And we're here right now on a Friday, and every Friday in Luxor there's a big market that happens, more local Egyptian market, and it's kind of right beside the restaurant that we were at. So just a bunch of stuff, kind of similar to all other markets. You can get like cheap souvenirs, clothing, shoes, basically a lot of things that you can think of. I'm just blown away with how cool this city is, situated on the Nile and everything. It just looks amazing. But the one thing that does ruin it a little is all the people that are trying to scam and like really scam you. They'll be like, oh, I know you from the hotel. And they'll be like, oh, I'll take you to the market. I'm just going to buy some stuff. I'm the cook there. They'll just follow you around. You tell them no, no, no. And they'll keep following you. This is definitely the worst spot in Egypt for that kind of stuff. Based on everywhere we went, this is definitely the spot where we get haggled the most. Just beware here. Don't really accept anything from anyone unless you're willing to pay that price for it, because they're gonna try to get you. And the one trick they do is saying everything as fast as possible, trying to get the deal done as fast as possible, and they just want to rush you before you have time to think. So one thing I'd always say is think about the price, think about it in your head, and in the end they want your money, so go slowly. That way you know what price you want to buy it for, and you'll get it for your price and not someone else's price. Now we're checking out the mummification museum. We were really fascinated by the mummies after seeing them at the Museum of Civilization, so now we're gonna head to this one. The museum is pretty small, but one of the highlights here is the mummy of the high priest Maserati, who is one of the best preserved mummies in the world. And you can see him, like his beard looks insane, his face, it actually looks insane. And this guy lived like 3,000, possibly 4,000 years ago. You can also see mummies of a bunch of different animals as well, like a cat, a crocodile, some fish. And then it just shows the whole mummification process, what they did and how mummies were created, like everything they used. Now it's time for an early morning. We're going on a hot air balloon this morning, and it looks like a more popular activity than we thought. There's a lot of people here, a lot of buses here. And we're off. The hot air balloon ride was so cool. It was such a special experience, just being up there looking over the city of Luxor and how cool it looks, and just experiencing it from the sky during the sunrise. I highly recommend doing this experience if you're in Luxor, because it's genuinely something you'll never forget. So after the hot air balloon ride, took a quick nap, and now we went to Karnak Temple. The boat to get there from where we're staying, which is basically the center of the city, is 200 Egyptian pounds. The next site we're going to is the famous Karnak Temple, which was the main temple in the city of Thebes, which is what Luxor was called in that time. And the construction of this temple lasted 2,000 years. So it started at around 2000 BC and ended around the year 30 BC. This whole temple is mainly dedicated to the sun god Ra. So this Scarab statue right here symbolizes growth and rebirth. And if you walk around it 7 times, it'll give you love and good luck. That's why you can see all the tour groups walking around this statue. Now it's our turn to do it too. Can never have too much love or good luck. Account for about 2 or 3 hours for visiting this temple because the grounds are really big and there's just a lot to see. The colors on the columns are insane. I don't know how they're still there. Look that good, but it honestly looks so crazy. And now we made it to the site of the Luxor temple, which costs 500 Egyptian pounds per person. And also they used to have 2 obelisks at the entrance here, but one of them was gifted to Paris and it's at the Place de la Concorde. This temple was dedicated to the rejuvenation of kingship. This is where pharaohs believed they would be reborn as divine rulers. So fun fact, when Alexander the Great ruled over Egypt in around 300 BC, he changed a lot of the symbols in this temple. He was also declared the son of Amun in this temple, and Amun is known as the hidden god, and he eventually became king of the gods when he combined together with Ra. And on the other side of the temple is the Avenue of the Sphinxes, which was only discovered in 1949, but it was fully excavated and it only fully opened in 2021, and that's when they finished opening this entire road of Sphinxes, and it leads you all the way from the Luxor temple to the Karnak temple. The main thing when visiting Luxor is seeing all the temples, and there's 2 sides to Luxor. There's the west bank, which is where Valley of the Kings is, and Hatshepsut's temple, so all of that kind of stuff. Hot air balloon is all on the west side, and on the east side is where Luxor temple and Karnak are. So you can do it all pretty quickly, and the east bank is more built up on the boardwalk, whereas the west bank is a lot more local. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you again in the next one.